Hello, Marks and Marquettes. This is James Gisanti covering NXT. You're right, I'm not Chad. I could never fill his shoes, but I'm going to do my best to cover NXT tonight as we had the first edition of the show of the new year. That was my washing machine. This was, my first real return to NXT in a long time. I haven't watched the product in a while, but I've been enjoying what I've been hearing, and I know they have a plethora of talent. So let's get started with how the night erupted, which was Carmelo Hayes defeating Apollo Crews in a very athletic matchup between these two superstars. I have been singing Carmelo Hayes' praises since before he joined WWE and NXT, and I've been saying it for a long time. The cream rises to the top, and Carmelo is the cream. He has all the makings to be a huge superstar, and getting this win over Apollo Crews is just another name to add to the list of superstars that Carmelo is using to climb his way to the top. Very excited to see what comes for him next. I am terrified of his finisher, of what it's going to be doing to his lower back, but hopefully maybe that'll change in time. That top rope leg drop onto the head of his opponents, standing opponents. Yeah, I think it's time. You know what? Let him do him. Afterwards, we had Axiom defeat Trick Williams. Axiom has definitely been one of the better not surprises, but one of the more highlighted superstars in NXT lately, and his rise has been a welcome addition to the brand. Backstage, we had Schism, led by Joe Gacy, confronting the New Day, the tag team champions, NXT tag team champions, New Day. That set up a match between Kofi and Gacy for later in the night. I am really digging Joe Gacy. I love the gimmick. I love the group. I think they have a lot of potential. I really want to see them be allowed to be let loose a little bit. But the match itself was fantastic. Kofi and Gacy had a great match with Schism ringside and Xavier Woods on commentary, where he had to bizarrely defend why he and Kofi are even in NXT and doing whatever they're doing. From Booker, who, man, I have not been exposed to Booker's commentary in a long time, and wow, yep, it is exactly what I remember from the five-time WCW champion. But Kofi ends up winning the match after hitting Trouble in Paradise on Gacy, but not before pretty much single-handedly taking out the rest of Schism on the outside with an outside dive. I thought it was a little weird to see Kofi be so dominant, but regardless, I'll take that over him getting pinned in 8 seconds by Brock Lesnar anything. Kofi and Xavier were then confronted backstage by Pretty Deadly, who are still demanding their title shot, and they're going to earn it next week if they survive the gauntlet match that they set up for themselves against 3 other NXT tag teams. Pretty Deadly have a great look, obviously, and a certain pedigree. So I'm very excited to see if they will be the ones to take the titles off of Kofi and Xavier. Moving earlier into the night, we catch up again with Dijak, who had kidnapped, handcuffed Channing Stacks Lorenzo to a chair. And, there was just some mild torture, totally legit, totally PG, right, WWE? But that led to a match where Dijak defeated Stacks, and that led to Tony D'Angelo challenging Dijak for a match next week at New Year's Evil. I am so happy to see Dijak getting the rub he deserves and getting the presentation that he deserves. He is a scary dude. I don't know why anyone would put him behind a mask when you've got to look like that. He is a great talent, and I'm glad that he feels like a big deal again here in NXT. We had a backstage segment where Andre Chase of Chase U took offense to Drew Gulak running some drills with Chase University students, and he told everyone to leave. Hank Walker tried to defend Gulak, who was just trying to see what Charlie Dempsey meant when he said Chase University students are soft. That led to a match later in the night between Andre Chase and Drew Gulak, who, honestly, this is the best Gulak has looked in a long, long time. He wins that match soundly with a snug dragon sleeper, making Andre Chase submit. I am all for this. I want to see more Gulak. I want to see Gaba Gulak just looking dominant and having a resurgence of his own. That led to another backstage segment where he was confronted by Charlie Dempsey, setting up a match between Dempsey and Walker for next week. We had backstage Mackenzie Mitchell interviewing Oro Mensa. Not gonna lie, guys, I don't know much about this guy. He's new to me, but he impressed in this match in his match tonight against Javier Bernal, who interrupted him to plug his Christmas album. I don't even know what NXT is anymore. It's a very weird place. But Mensa said when he's done with him tonight, Big Body Javi won't have a singing voice anymore. I like Big Body Javi. That's a nice gimmick. But regardless of all that, their match was definitely on the squashier side of things, where Mensa gets jumped by Bernal before the match even really starts, but he made quick work of him getting the 1, 2, 3. Not to ignore the women, because we had an extreme resolution match between Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. This was a weird match for me. I don't know how to explain it to you guys other than it could have been booked a little more competently. The two women are fighting backstage while referees do what is quite possibly the worst I've ever seen to try and separate two talent, as they just fight using weapons, using the scenery, using the landscape to just beat each other up, throw each other off things, hit each other with things. It was a gruesome affair that eventually made its way to the ring. And the crowd was just not into it. I feel bad for these two women because they really put a lot on the line. They really put their bodies through a lot, but the crowd was just not there for them. And while Alba Fire got the win on Isla, it could have been done prettier. She had Isla set up on the table on the outside, and Alba jumps from the top rope, and the table does not break. I don't know how many women's matches we've seen with these tables spots just not going the way they intended. It's always rough every time. I give them all the credit in the world for trying, but after she does the dive and the table doesn't break, she hits what presumably is her finisher through the table and then rolls her into the ring for the 1, 2, 3. A rough spot. I hope everyone involved is okay. It looked brutal, not in the right way, but good for Alba Fire winning this brutal, brutal match. There was also a promo that sets up a 20-woman battle royal next week to determine the #1 contender spot for the women's championship. There were a lot of women there. I am not going to be able to get through everyone, but Roxanne Perez has her work cut out for her, no matter who wins the match. Finally, the main event of the show was a segment between Grayson Waller and Bron Breakker on Grayson's show, The Grayson Waller Effect. I'll be honest with you guys, Grayson has not really been a guy that I warmed up to initially, but I've only heard good things. Tonight showed why he is as good as he is. He's annoying as hell in all the right ways, but Bron Breakker had his number. He knew to not let Grayson get under his skin, no matter what Grayson said. Oh, he's just the next Goldberg trying to rip off Goldberg, or that he's trying to emulate his father, that he's nothing original about him. Breakker stood his ground, and it wasn't until Waller kept pushing his buttons as he's trying to leave the ring that Breakker finally takes action and dropped him. I don't really think Grayson has much of a chance next week, but Bron definitely has one of his most entertaining challengers as he goes into the new year. So, guys, I won't lie. I I am trying to get back into NXT. This was a so-so introduction or reintroduction for me, but the talent is there, the production is there. The booking could be a little snugger, but we'll see if it gets there. Overall, I'd give the show a 5 out of 11. I don't even know how that works out, but I don't know. There you go. 5 out of 11. It feels very NXT. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm your guy, James Gisanti. Catch me later tomorrow morning, tonight, as I cover New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. And God willing, Chad will be in the group and covering NXT here on out, so I don't have to ruin it and butcher it for you guys. Have a good night.